Okay, good. All right. Now, I shall introduce you to another female writer associated with Lennox history. Her name is Fanny Kemble, and she was born into a theatrical family in England in the year 1809. She made her debut on the London stage at the age of 20, playing Juliet at the Covent Garden Theatre. She toured the United States of America with her father in the beginning in the year 1832. She met an American man and married him, and in the year 1834 she temporarily retired from the stage. Now imagine, if you will, what a wonderful life Fanny Kemble was looking forward to on that day in which she became the bride of a very wealthy Southern plantation owner. Now she had come to Lennox and formed a friendship with Catherine Sedgwick, and Fanny was absolutely the toast of the town for the time that she was here in Lennox, and many eligible bachelors sought her hand in marriage. One fellow, however, stood out because he was more determined than the others, and it seems that he wooed her diligently for 2 years before she accepted his hand in marriage. Now, Fanny, at that time, was one of the most famous actresses in the world. She was young, beautiful, and she had a wonderful society of friends. She was also happy and optimistic in her nature. And when she chose to get married, she decided to move to Philadelphia to the family home of her husband. But once she found herself there, she found out the awful truth that she had married into one of the very few groups of families that would have made a person like her completely unhappy. Now, Fanny Kemble may be the most romantic woman who ever inhabited the little town of Lennox. Now, the reason I say this is because her story, especially her marriage and her experience of married life, really sets apart a sort of standard of any romantic novel in which our heroine makes a dreadful mistake for the sake of love. Now, the woman in these novels falls deeply in love with an enigmatic and charming man. He woos her with a great deal of intense attention. So she moves from her home into his sphere of influence. That's when Fanny moves to Philadelphia. Once there, it becomes clear to the heroine that her independent thinking, her intelligence, and her talents are undervalued. She becomes isolated from her former friends and begins to find her situation intolerable, controlled by societal pressures, made poor by her inability to work and earn, held captive by the fear of losing her children, and facing the scorn of the world. She submits to intolerable cruelty, his being unfaithful, unworking, squandering their fortunes, her humiliation complete. But our heroine escaped, and her story reveals the very important reason why Fanny Kemble, as opposed to any of the other heroines, were forced to endure these things. You see, Franny, Fanny's friendship with Catherine Sedgwick, which was formed here in Lennox, introduced her into the society of another wonderful Sedgwick, Elizabeth Sedgwick, the sister-in-law of Catherine. And during the entire course of her marriage, She maintained a regular correspondence with Elizabeth. She described her isolation and unhappiness in openness and detail. These letters led to her publication of her most important work, describing her life on a plantation. Wonderful details about the misery of the slaves, how the children, they, how many children the slaves had born and died, how they must return to work in the fields after 3 weeks of giving birth. Fanny was the first to reveal, with firsthand evidence, the system of concubinage, which encouraged the female slaves to have children. The publication of this story hit the Free States by storm. It was read in the House of Commons in England, and it has been attributed to Fanny Kemble and this writing, which led the British to remain neutral during the course of the American Civil War. Now, Fanny Kemble was the real deal. She established her reputation, and when she wrote and published her story, it was read and believed. The family stood behind the son unequivocally from the start of the marriage. Well, that's basically, that's a good start. We'll end it.